Hello everyone, it's Jay here from the Trading Court Podcast, a Pokemon TCG podcast bringing you anything and everything Pokemon TCG related. If you are looking for Pokemon TCG competitive decks ready to go, including GLC decks, please head over to Pokédex4U.com. Pokédex4U has a variety of decks ready for sale, with each deck being fully customizable and bespoke to your needs. Use the code TrainingCourtTCG for 5% off your first order. Now let's get on to the episode. Hello everyone and welcome to the Training Court, a Pokemon TCG podcast about anything and everything Pokemon TCG related. Jay here, and I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts Alex and Andy. Hey guys, you right?
Evening.
Hey, you alright?
Yeah, good. So we are back for another episode, and also want to say thank you again to Matt Byron for jumping on last week's episode. But given the fact that we have obviously missed a couple of episodes and we had a guest on last week, we thought we'd kind of go back to basics, talking about what's obviously going on in the meta, what's going on, what our overall opinions are on the meta, decks, and also what happened at Worlds. Obviously, we've got Matt's perspective, but it's interesting to just discuss from our side what we, obviously, I know Alex was rooting for Guardi, shock horror, and then discuss what we've been playing recently, and then discuss some news. So rather than what we've been playing this week, what have we been playing this month? So I'm going to start with Andy.
So mainly Chen Pao. I've been really enjoying Chen Pao. Like, I don't know, I think you were a bit on the fence about it, but the 60 I've got now it works for me. It's pure like just turbo with Mew, no Palkia, no Arceus, just straight up Chen Pao and Baxcalibur, and it works. It's one of my games, so I'm going to stick with it. Now Pidgeot's come out as well, so yeah, I need to find.
Have you got your hands on some Pidgeots yet?
Sorry?
Have you got your hands on some Pidgeots?
Yeah, I've got the full art, and I've got a special art rare coming.
Ah, nice. I need another full art.
I've got enough.
Beautiful cards. Yeah, you mentioned I'm on the fence. I am on the fence because I played with you, and I decided to play Chen Pao myself. I've got all the bits to it, so I decided to play Chen Pao myself, and I actually ran Owen Rhodes' list, who came 12th in NAIC. So I thought that's a good basis, obviously consistent enough. It's, nearly 1,900 players, obviously consistent through the day one, day two. I thought consistency, and I just think I struggled with it. I think I played really well in the testing, and then when I got to the actual competitive games, it fell apart. It also doesn't help the fact that I came across a Dialga Magnezone deck. Someone playing for the first time in real life played Dialga Magnezone. Obviously, Chen Pao has the weakness there, but then also, I mean, you played him straight after me, Andy, and you beat him, but he beat me in best of one purely because he used Giga Magnet.
Was that when I was there? Was that? You were
yes, it was. Yeah. So you were back over. So yes, obviously the Magnezone from Astral Radiance has Giga Magnet, whereby you look at the top 6 cards of your deck, and any energy there you can attach to Pokemon anywhere you like. Out of the first one, the top 6 cards, he hit 5 energies, which means he was able to then load up his Dialga V-Star. He was then able to use, is it Star Chronos? Is that the name of it? Yeah. Star Chronos. So he was able to take the knockout, and then straight away he had his turn again, and he did another Giga Magnet and was able to then set up his next Dialga V-Star. So even if I took the knockout, he had enough energy on the board, and enough. He also had a Magnezone powered up as well. So we had enough energy on board to that no matter what I did, I could not beat him. He took 3 prizes in one go, and I just couldn't recover. Just couldn't. You can Iono, but at the end of the day, he's got everything on board, so there's no issue there. But yeah, it's I'm still on the fence about Chen Pao. But you have been playing something else as well. Last week you played something a bit different.
Yeah, I played Turbo Last Box last week. Went back to playing Lost Box. It was good.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good, yeah.
I played. Who did it? I played Tom. I think it was at the start, and I set my first turn going second. I had 8 in the lost zone straight away. But when I was actually playing games, it took me a few turns to start getting going. I won a few games.
You couldn't get Cramorant turn 2, could you? Which was frustrating from your side. I remember you just angry.
And then there was a game where I'm sure you were sat there with me. I think when I needed an escape rope to win, and I was like, I'm not going to get it. I'm not getting it. I'm sure I've used all my escape ropes.
That's right. Yeah.
And you just like
you were pretty much scooping. You were pretty much like
yeah.
You were like, I'm not winning this. I'm not winning this. He was sat there. And he was like, I'm not winning this. I'm just not winning this. And the guy was like, well, you scooping? He was like, I'm not winning this. And I was like, have you Pokestopped, Andy? He was like, no. And I was like, Pokestop. What was there?
It was an escape
rope. For the win.
So I managed to get Sableye into the active, and then one of his Pokemon were like heavily damaged on the bench, so I just put 120 damage on it.
For our listeners and watchers out there, when we did some testing with before Paldea Evolve came out, before Chien-Pao was obviously legal, etc. We did some testing. Obviously, we did Alex and Andy played Chien-Pao versus Guardy. It's been put up on the channel. You know, it was very, very popular video. There is more to that game because I think we played 2 more rounds, and to be fair, Chien-Pao did actually win the second round, but again, behind the scenes stuff, Andy gave up basically right near the start, and I was like, no, just try this, and he ended up coming back and winning. So I think that's you've definitely got to kind of dig in a bit more sometimes and look at your options in the board state. But yeah, no, it was really good. You did really well, and you said it was interesting playing, going back to Lost Box. Obviously, we've spoken about Chien-Pao, we've spoken about Guardy. We all thought. I mean, I thought that the Worlds was going to be Lost Zone heavy, and it was, but just more Tina, not Turbo. But you know, are we going to see more of a resurgence of Lost Box in the current meta? I think we'll obviously talk about that in the next segment, because we've got to discuss some of the new cards that are going to be legal. By the time this episode comes out, will be legal in the meta. So, and some of those cards do impact Lost Box. But just going back then to what you're playing, are you sticking with Chien-Pao for the foreseeable future? I think you mentioned you're going to a challenge, or you're going to another cup potentially.
I was going to try and get to a cup at the weekend, but we'll have to see how that goes.
And
are you deck wise? What would you play? Sorry, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, if I was going, I'd probably bring Lost Box.
Okay.
I am looking to build. Well, I've got all the parts for Lost Box Tina, so I might give that a try at some point as well.
Yeah,
because I've wanted to try it for ages, and I'm just not bothered building it.
Yeah, well, that's a good segue, because I know that Alex has been playing a little bit of Lost Box Tina. So Alex, what have you been? You've also been playing a lot of Guardy.
Alex is playing something other than Guardy.
I know.
I've actually been playing
myself
in real life. I've just been playing Guardy in real life, but online, and also we've been playing some webcam tabletop, which for our listeners and viewers is a really, really good way of playing online. Just setting up a couple of laptops and putting them down at your desk and just playing tabletop with a mate it's really, really, really good. It's basically playing in real life. But anyway, I've been playing
better than live.
Much better than live. Yeah. But yeah, I have been playing Gardevoir in real life at a couple of challenges. The first challenge, I didn't do very well. I bricked on a couple of games. I mulliganed about 5 times in another one. It was a best of 1. I ended up losing the first 2 games and winning the second 2 games. But my resistance, is that what it's called? Resistance was about 40%. The opponent's win rate. I didn't have a very good game. And then the next challenge, which was this Sunday, was actually kind of a spontaneous one. I didn't realize there was a challenge going on, so I just went. Didn't do as well in terms of the actual result. I lost 1, drew 1, won 1. No, lost 2, drew 1. Lost 2, won 1, drew 1.
2-1.
Yeah, but my matchup spread was actually quite difficult. My opponent's win rate in the end was about 65-70%. So in my first game I played against a Chien-Pao, and I won the Chen Pao 2-0. And I was quite happy with that because Chen Pao's a hard matchup for me. I played against you, Dicko, at Fanboy 1. You beat me. Also played against Jay in Fanboy 1 in a pre-test match, and he beat me with his the cancelling clone Greninja boss Manaphy. And he's just, what can you do? You can't do anything. You have to play 2 Manaphies, which I don't and will not anyway. But I beat the Chen Pao. I think you just got to be fast. You've just got to take out the Bax Caliber or the Frigibacks if you can with Cress turn 2, and then you can win in a couple of turns. I think they played Palkia V-Star and I managed to get that was it. So they played Palkia V-Star. I managed to get a Zacian Scarseal Stone 3 prize. I'd already knocked out a Frigibax early on. They got another Bax Caliber. All I needed was a 2 prizer, and it was fairly easy to do that with the Chen Pao. So I was just ahead on the prize race. Then I played against the Guardy Mirror, and he actually played the Drifloon Bravery Charm, which I never expect. And I always think I'm not going to put it in because there's too many Lost Vacuums, but I don't think many. I know you put it in your deck, Jay, but I don't think many decks are actually running Lost Vacuum that are prevalent. You've got Mew and you've got Lost Box, but Chen Pao, does Chen Pao run it? I don't know. I don't really come up with you run it.
Yeah,
I think he won. So he won the tournament, the challenge with Gardevoir and Drifloon, and he beat me with a Drifloon attack. He benched Drifloon, put the Bravery Charm, and knocked out he'd put like 20 damage on my Gardevoir EX with a Cresselia. Then the next turn he put in Drifloon and just bossed it and knocked it out with like 300 damage fairly easily. I still don't think I mean, obviously it was a good call for him, but I think in certain metas, in certain locals, it's a good call, but I don't know. I then played against Miraidon. Turn 2, I scooped because I had only basics, and in my hand I had a Gardevoir and a scoop and a Super Rod, and I was just dead drawing. I was like, if I'm not going to draw anything good the next turn, I will just scoop. And I drew an energy, and I was like, well, no, I didn't even have a Mew out, just had Manaphy in the active. And then I won the game 2. I didn't have enough time for the game 3, which is kind of annoying because Miraidon is my easy game. It's the game that I usually can win. I always say that, and I didn't win this one, but
yeah,
it is the game.
Overconfidence, I think.
Yeah, I mean, but the deck didn't work in the first game. I couldn't get going. But it's a fairly. He played Rotom as well, which was a bit weird. And that was how I won. I bossed up the Rotom and hit with Gardevoir EX. But also, moving on from Gardevoir, I have been trying some of the new decks. Well, one deck that isn't used, Lost Box Tina. I do actually have the pieces for it, and I played against UJ online on the webcam IRL, and I think I'm thinking about bringing that to my next challenge, or it might be a cup, which will be once Obsidian Flames is legal. I think Tina is good against Charizard because of the Star Requiem, and also because it runs Path. The problem is if I've been playing with Charizard as well, and I don't know if you wanted to save this for a different segment about the card. You want to save it? Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about obviously the impact on the new cards, etc.
Sure. So I have been playing Lost Box Tina, and it was actually the first deck, apart from the Palkia, not the Palkia, the Ice Rider Calyrex that you got me, Dicko. It's actually the first deck that I built in real life. And it was nice going back to Tina. Obviously, it's a lot different to what it was when it first came in Lost Origin. I used to play Thornton, and I would like to have a look at Thornton again. But I played one of the lists from it was in the top 8 in maybe NIC or Worlds or the top 8, one of the higher placing Tinas anyway. And yeah, it runs well. It's a very good deck. But it's not really, I don't know, it's not really setting the world on fire in terms of it's not made top 4, has it, recently? Doesn't seem to have it. I don't see it winning a regional tournament. I mean, I might eat my words. What's the next one? Is it Portland? Not sure. What's the next one? It's quite soon.
Yeah, it is
Pittsburgh. Is it Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh. Yeah. No beginning with a P. So yeah, I've been playing Lost Tina and I've been playing obviously Gardevoir. I tried some of the random single prize decks from the Obsidian Flames that didn't build them. Maybe I didn't build them well, but it didn't work. But yeah, I've played quite a lot of Charizard as well. I also have been thinking about Regidrago V-Star again. Path Noivern seems to be a good strategy in the new format going forward, Obsidian Flames. So Charizard doesn't typically play Worker, and it doesn't seem to play Lost Vacuum. Just seems to play Stadiums. Could be a strat, yeah. So
Definitely. So I played locals last night, and I played a Guardy list, and I did made some changes to it, and I thought it was in anticipation of the new meta, and I thought I'd make the changes early to try and get a handle on the deck and understand the changes, see if they work, see where they don't, etc. And one of the changes was I reduced my work account from 2 to 1 and included Lost Vacuum, and unfortunately I did come across a Regidrago. My last game of the night I got paired against Regidrago, who path locked me, and I prized my worker and lost vacuum.
And the vacuum.
Yeah.
There was no out.
Well,
so
you could have prized both workers. It's
exactly.
And you would have done actually because you took out a worker for the Lost Vacuum, so you would have prized both workers anyway.
Which is annoying as well, because I actually, before he got started, I actually got ahead quite quickly. I managed one of the kind of things, and again we'll probably discuss that, especially given that Alex is such a Guardy stan. I think Guardy may need to speed up in this meta to outspeed Charizard if it's so I actually increased the amount of rare candies to try and get that turn 2, and I also included again a Tord special. I included a Mirage Step Curlier as well to try and speed up. That never came off because I always had refinement, and you always do refinement, to be honest. To
interject about Mirage Step, I tried Mirage Step, and I think Mirage Step is actually slower because if you get it off on the opportune time, which is turn 2, is when you want to get it off. You actually want to be attacking turn 2. Your Mirage Step into you only doing it turn 3, which is when you kind of do it anyway. I don't think that's done for speed. I think that's more for attackers later, because then if your curly is putting the curliers on, you can then route rare candy later on, because then you don't need the curliers. You can rare candy, routes rare candy at the end. So I think it's more of a late game, not ability, but I think it's more to help the late gamer.
The Mirage Step's there if you're having problems and you need to get curliers out to start refinement.
Yeah, but it's also good, like Jay said, that you end up with ideally you end up with four
curliers and the 4 curliers out,
2 routes, and then you can rare
potentially rare candies. Yeah, exactly. So,
and if you get lost zoned, if you get a curlier lost zoned and it's not got a route on it, then you've got the routes there to rare candy.
Yeah. But again, how often
it's good, but
I don't know. But
like you say, Guardy wants to start quickly against Charizard, and Mirage Step. I don't think Mirage Step is a slow starter.
Yeah,
obviously it has a big payoff, but by that point, your Charizard's already there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I am still enjoying Guardy. I think it's still my main deck. When I play it, we tested online. I think I played against you, Al. I played some Art Gira, played Miraidon, and I played Charizard EX the other night as well against you. But when I come back to Guardy, it feels, I know the deck inside out now. So it feels like coming home. Imagine what it feels like for you with Chempao, Andy. It's just you know what to do, you know the plays, you know what you need, and it's for me refining that the 50, essentially the 52, 53 cards are set. It's then those 7 or 8 cards where, like I said, Tord in his list dropped a Penny. But people, he's been playing Penny since day one. So did he anticipate, a drop in Arc Umbreon, because Penny was there and perfect for Umbreon and the mean look, get out of this and that, etc. So it's how the deck evolves. Obviously, like I said, we'll talk about that. But then also I've got a challenge coming up on Thursday. I'm going to a challenge on Thursday. Then I'm on holiday for a week and a half. So I'm going to try and get as much Pokemon in as possible before I take a small little break. So I'm going to a challenge with Matt actually. So the guest from last week, he's going, and I think again it's in South. It's in North Manchester, isn't it? Ashton the Line. So North Manchester.
Is that North Manchester?
That's North.
Yeah.
No, it'd be South. Ooh, South Tameside. Sorry. Be South. I think it's classed. I don't know. Anyway, it's in Manchester. It's
no, I'm North Manchester.
Yeah, well, so am I. Yeah. So, anyway, so yeah, so it's I don't know what to play. I had a
Obsidian Flames won't be legal then, will it?
Obsidians won't be legal until this episode is released. So the day after
Friday.
The challenge, so Friday. I did have a sneaky. I messaged you today, Al, talking to you about it. I've got a fancy building just Palkia, Chempal Palkia. So not with Baxcalibur. It's basically, I was looking at the list that Cyrus Davis, that she played and got top 10 worlds. And I look at that and I'm in Palkia. The way kind of you said, obviously, Al, about your first deck that you built, Palkia was my first proper deck that I built, from fresh. And I absolutely, with the Intellion engine and I loved it. I went to Worlds with it. If you remember, we used to play it non-stop. It was my main deck. I think I'd love to go back to Palkia, and I think it's now competitive. So I'm gonna have to watch a couple of streams to see how Cyrus played it, because she did really well.
All it is, Chempal's there for Capacious Bucket, basically.
It's Capacious Bucket, basically.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, because we have no Capacious Bucket.
So you're not really. Are you attacking
just
with
a few extras.
You can attack with Genpower, yeah. You can. And I assume that's actually probably a good option for the big numbers, like the V maxes, the 310, the 330 V maxes. Because the what's the
a bit harder to flood the board with energy though.
Yeah,
a lot harder.
So obviously you got Melanie as well. I think Melanie is a big point in that deck as well to get the energy back on. But I think how much can Palkia? What's the max Palkia can actually hit?
260.
It's 260, so it's 290.
260 plus Choice Belt.
Yeah, but Cyrus's list doesn't play Choice Belt. She did well. So I'm going to look at it. I'm going to build it. I'm going to do some test runs. I'm going to probably nag one of you two to log on tomorrow to do some testing with me, and I'm going to see how it runs, because I don't but then I'm also potentially worried about the amount of Miraidons out there as well. Miraidon, obviously we touched on it briefly last week, but Miraidon was quite a big presence at Worlds. Tricky Jim, Andrew Mahone and all his testing group, they all played Miraidons, and they got top. I think Andrew Mahone got top. He got in top 32 finish, didn't he?
I think so, yeah.
He got top 32 finish, so he did well. And I've played Miraidon.
21st he came.
So yeah, so nearly broke into the top 20 with Miraidon. Again, a lot of people think that's a tier 2 deck, so all of a sudden it's doing well. It's fast. It sets up again. Miraidon at EX itself is just basically Battle of the IP.
It's actually it can be quite scary playing against Miraidon when they put pressure on turn one a lot of the time. The Miraidon I played against, he used Electric Generator like 2 or 3 times, and he had about 10 energy and all his Pokemon. He just kept hitting it, and I was like, oh my god.
And if you use
scary for me,
Steelstone as well, you can just get generator.
Yeah,
220 exactly.
Especially the thing is Raichu as well that can hit the big numbers.
You've got the Raichu, the Raikou is obviously good for the fleet-footed for the draw. I mean, you literally just need to set up. All you need in your hand is Forest Sealstone, Miraidon EX, and an Arven. Yeah, and you can probably take if you go turn 2, you can get a turn 2 knockout. Yeah. If you Miraidon for all the bench, you set up the bench. You then Electric Generator Arven for Electric Generator. If you wish that, you attach for turn. If you go for that, you got fleet-footed. You can get that out as well. I think you've just got loads of options. And like I said, Raichu can hit for big numbers with ease as well. Actually, that's what I've also found with Chempao. It can hit those big numbers with ease.
Just needs 5 energy.
Doesn't need much.
300.
Exactly. The same with Chen Pao. I was playing. So let's say I went to my locals last night at Fanboy. And I was playing against Tom, and we played a game, and he scooped the first game because he just did not get set up at all. And I was playing Charizard EX just again for fun. Second game, it got very, very close. I only had one prize left, and he had two prizes left, and he was able to just take a Charizard EX out like that. That's 330 HP. He was like, I think I've got this. Yeah, he was able to just literally, it's basically it's Irida. Irida's bust. Irida is so busted in that deck. It's scary how
busted
good
in
it
any
is.
water deck.
It's just so good. Irida's so good. It's like Colress and it's 10 times better.
But yeah,
Colress.
you're right, especially in Chen Pao. I mean, you can get the canceling clone,
So,
you can get
no
Red
superior.
Candy,
No, literally, all you need is
superior energy.
You need Chen Pao. You need a Chen Pao inactive for Shiver and Chill, and then you need a superior energy retrieval. You get the 4. You can get 4 back in your hand. You can potentially have 6 energies in one go. And like Andy said, that's that. I mean, how much is that? 60, 120, 240. That's 3. That's 360.
6 is
360. Sorry, yeah.
That's 360 for one move for using one card, Irida, and then getting the things. It's scary. It's good.
But Pidgeot makes that even easier.
Yeah, and Pidgeot.
I don't know. I don't know if Pidgeot does.
Pidgeot can.
I don't think
if
it
you've
needs
not got
it.
any supporters left, if you've not got any erasers left, and you need a superior energy retrieval,
yeah,
it's gonna come in clutch.
Pidgeot is such a good like a backup. I just need this card. I didn't get it. Like Pidgeot is so good in all my testing. Maybe it's a good segue into Obsidian Flames cards, but Pidgeot is has been.
I said it'd be really good. It's going to be used in pretty much everything now.
Well, anything that already uses rare candy. I don't think it's worth just putting it into any deck.
No. But anything that isn't guarded, anything that takes time to set up, will use it.
I don't think like Lost Box wouldn't use it. I don't think Lost Box would.
No, but Lost Box doesn't take a long time to set up.
Can do.
I mean, like bench-wise. Anything that uses rare candies will probably use.
I think so. Pidgeot is really good. Pidgeot's really good to set up. If you get it off early, then you can set up what you need to maximize your board state. It's also really good in the mid to end game. You're just getting a boss every turn. Pidgeot decks tend to play a high boss count because you can just get the bosses. Especially in I don't know if you want to talk about Charizard now, but especially in Charizard with the deck that I think is the best way of playing, at least from the decks that have been made. I'm sure that better players will come up with better decks, but the one that I've been testing is the Charizard with Arceus and with Pidgeot, and with no other attackers. The only attacker is really Charizard. Also Arceus can attack, and I guess Pidgeot can attack if you want to bump Path or Lost City or whatever. But Pidgeot has been the MVP. You need to get Arceus up turn 2, like you have to, otherwise the deck fails.
Arceus is good if someone puts a Path to the Peak down and you can't use Charizard's ability.
Well, no, you can't use Arceus' ability either.
No, but you can use Trinity Nova.
No, you can't attach it to Charizard though. You can attach it to
it's V. Yeah, sorry, it's V's. Yeah.
So Arceus. So yeah, Arceus and Pidgeot are. It seems like overkill to need all that draw, just in terms of like a single Pokemon that just get you like Arceus gets you 2 cards and then Pidgeot gets you 1 card every turn. It's just so powerful. And I think it's better than the Bidoof barrel engine that some decks play. I think it's so scary playing against a Charizard. I quite comfortably beat Charizards even with Guardy that don't play the Arceus Pidgeot method, because it needs an extra turn to set up, because it can't reliably find rare candy at the beginning of the game. So it just takes. I've put in extra rare candies and extra ways of just making sure that I get the Cresselia turn 2, and then if I take out the then they're just left to and even if they do evolve the Charizard, they can't boss like the big reason why Gardevoir will lose to Charizard is because Pidgey can just boss you. Pidgey could just boss your Guardian EX up every single turn that you evolve it, and it's Guardian. Only played 2 Guardian EXs in most lists, in all lists, so you get your Guardian knocked out, they just boss it again, and that's why it's so bad. You need to take out the Pidgeot because it's just ridiculously powerful. So yeah, that's why I've been playing with the Charizard. I don't know if you played it against me, didn't you, Jay? The Charizard.
I did, yeah.
How did you find?
So I took a list from some online tournaments recently. I think it got top 8 in an online tournament, 100-person tournament. I struggled, to be honest. I still think the deck struggles because you've got so many 2 prizes. To be 100% honest, the amount of 2 prizes is scary. And whilst 330 is a chunky number, you're also with Charizard EX being mainly your own attacker there. You're not hitting big numbers at the start.
No,
you're hitting 180. You're hitting 180 at the start. I mean, and I thought I had, like, on my second game that I lost to Chen Pao against Tom, I thought I had a really good setup. I had an Arceus out, I had an energy attached in the Arceus, I had a Pidgey out, and I had a Charmander out. And I was like, great. And I've got the Ultra Ball in hand ready for Arceus V-Star. Thought, this is great. I'm going to go off here. Second turn, I did go off. I got Ultra Balled for the Arceus. I Starburst.
Yeah.
But then I was only able to get the Rare Candy and Pidgeot. And then I quick searched, and I'm still 1 piece short. And I know it's mental. I can still get those 3 cards, and it is busted. But I was still... when I Pidgeot, I was still 1 card short because I could then get the Rare Candy, but I didn't have the Charizard. Or I get the Charizard, but I didn't have the Rare Candy. So although I was able to, in my mind, pop off, there was just I literally
you were just 1 card.
I passed for turn because
I think in those cases, what I've found is just to get research, just to draw and hope, because you actually can't physically get the Charizard.
I think the only thing I worry about in this deck is energy recoverability. There's no energy recoverability.
Did you play 7?
I played 8 and 2 double turbos. Very rarely saw the double turbos. I think I prized 2 of them in my second game, which doesn't
especially if
help.
you're playing the Delphox, which lost zones 2 energies if you get it.
And I play 1 copy of Magna Basin, but I can't tell you when I used Magna Basin at all. I finally came into it. I put it down, but I didn't need to. I just did put it down to basically bump something that was I think Pokestop that was them. So I put it down, and then they bumped it straight away. So I was like, I couldn't even get it from the discard. I think the other ones were what was the other stadiums I play? I can't remember the other stadiums I play. I think it was Artisan, to be honest.
I think if you play Magma Basin, you've got to really be playing 2 or 3. Like you've got to use it as though it's an item card almost. And
then I wondered, is maybe Radiant Heatran the way to go if you're playing Magma Basin, lean into that heavy attacker. But then saying that, Radiant Charizard at the end of a game to come in for 250, even 280 with a choice belt is phenomenal.
Yeah, which you can get from Pidgeot.
Which you can get, exactly. Yeah. So I like the combos, but the lack of draw really, really hurts. I know you can Pidgeot for any card you want, but sometimes you're missing 1 or 2 or 3 cards to be fair from that puzzle to really turn the screw on the game. And I think with no draw, it struggles. And again, the other thing is the lack of damage early game. You're taking 2 turns to knock out big chunky 2 prizes, but in that time you can also get 2 hits on you as well. So you're then going down.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a good deck.
Isn't that the same as Arceus? Because I was thinking, I found that problem as well when I was playing Charizard, and I was getting set up really quickly. I was getting my Charizard up turn 2, and I'd run into the active, and I'd do 180, and then that's it. There wasn't
the benefit with the Arceus.
But that's what Arceus does.
But the benefit of Arceus is when you attack with Trinity Nova, you're powering everything else up on the bench. So whilst it can take 2 turns for your Arceus to get knocked out, you're powering up another attacker. You're powering up a Giratina. You're powering up a Giratina. You're powering up a Duraludon. You're powering up an Umbreon, a Slacking. I've seen loads of Slackings and Lifeline Pikachus. You're able to then power them up, so you've got attackers straight away. Whereas with Charizard, I just didn't feel like I wasn't able to take the knockout on Chen Pao. So he had 40 he had 40 health left, 40 HP left. And I was like, well, I've got a big chunky prize, 2 prizes here. I know it can take, but then Chen-Pao's one of the most dangerous decks to be against, because like I said,
they
just
hit
need
those numbers.
Just 6 cards. 6 cards. Yeah. You're running 10 energy, you just need 6 cards. If you pivot 2 Chen-Paos, all of a sudden that's 4. 3. I
guess that's where that
2/3 of the way.
The vengeful punch comes in, I guess. Or even Box of Disasters for doing even an extra 80, because if you're worried about getting knocked out in one hit after turn 2, after you've just done your first hit, even Box of Disasters is a good shout. But I think Vengeful Punch is probably more realistic, because most decks are not going to be able to knock you out turn 2. Like, they're not going to be able to do 330. Even Chen-Pao, it's not going to always be able to get those 6 energies, because oftentimes it's Radiant Greninjaing. It's probably not going to get the Pidgeot.
You'll be surprised how often you can pull it off.
Yeah. You will be able to pull it off, but I don't think it's it's super consistent, because you need to have the either Irida or Arven or whatever you play. Irida, obviously. You need to have quite a few pieces and get 2 energies from Chen-Pao and not get Ionode, and it's not always a guarantee, but obviously it's a threat, so it's always an option that can happen to you, so you always got to plan for it, I suppose. So I think if you are hitting 180, which is what you're doing with Charizard on a 220 Pokemon, if you put Vengeful Punch on your Charizard, then you're knocking out, you're trading
for a Lost Vacuum.
If you're Iriding for a Lost Vacuum, you're not Iriding for a Super Energy Retrieval.
Yeah, I suppose.
So, I mean, unless you locked out and you got a Lost Vacuum in your hand, but that's it. I mean, that's the game, isn't it? You just got to hope that they don't have all the pieces, and you just do as much as you can to try and throw them off and make them do an extra play or action that hopefully means that they don't have the play that they don't have.
I definitely think that we will kind of. I know I feel like we've spoken about Chen-Pao a lot tonight, but I do think that it's
a threat, though.
It's taking off. I know, it's really, really taking off. So, for example, like I said, I keep harking back to last night. Went to locals last night. Now, there's usually about 15 to 20 people on locals on a Monday night, which is really good numbers for a Monday night. And I think, how many times do you look around and there's just Guardy? Last night, it was that for Chen-Pao. There was 7 Chen-Paos.
Really? Wow.
There was 7 out of 17 decks last night.
Me and Tom.
Yeah, exactly. Last night, there were 7 out of 17 decks with Chen-Pao.
Jesus.
I think it's because, one, I think it's a powerful deck that's not costing the earth. Secondly, you can get the alt arts for that. Beautiful for dirt cheap as well. So you can get the beautiful secret art rares. You can get really nice cards. You've got, I think, just water's really powerful at this moment in time. And I think
just with Irida, you got such a powerful
support. Yeah, with Irida, and I just think it's a cheap deck that can be made cheaply, but it's really competitive. And it just goes to show, like I said, I mean, like I said, I've played Chen-Pao once or twice before. I'm not going to say I've sat there and played it, and I struggled with it. So it does need a high skill level as well. It does. It's very much like it's like Guardy. It does. Yeah, no, you do. You need to make the right decisions. No, you do. You need to make the right decisions, 100%. And it disrupts meta decks. I see a lot of them playing Lost City now. So routes, and also for the mirror for Frigibacks, it's a nightmare. I think it's going to get a lot bigger, and I think it's very similar to Guardy EX, because I think Guardy EX, and again, no disrespect to anyone, but I know a young player who picked it up and they sent me the list, and they were doing really well in their locals, and their list wasn't great, it had no Cresselia in it, but they were doing well in locals because it's a powerful deck. It is a powerful deck. It can hit those numbers and it can draw, so you can always draw yourself out. I think it's easy to play, hard to master, that kind of deck, and I think the same with Chen-Pao. But I think Chen-Pao, but it's good to see that, because do you remember when me and you got into Pokemon TCG, Andy? The best deck in format, and potentially still the best deck in format, was Mew VMAX.
Yeah.
But how much was a Mew VMAX deck?
Well expensive.
You were talking about 190, 200 pounds because the VMAXs at the point were £30 a pop. The Mews were like 15, 20. This was just base rarity.
Crazy prices.
We're going for 12 to 15. This was just base rarity. This wasn't even like, I mean, you can get alt arts now for that.
Yeah.
But at that time, it was base rarity. And I think obviously the league backup deck helped massively. But it's good to see that now that you can get these decks that are competitive and they're not costing the earth. And I think it's really positive, and I think it's a positive.
Charizard cost the earth. It's like I think
Charizard
it's still going up. It's like £25 a card.
I'm going to be honest. I've played a bit of Charizard on the ladder, and I cannot get on with it. I just feel like it's so easy to brick.
It really is.
If you don't set up that Pidgeot or an Arceus to Starbirth, you're knackered.
And I played 4 Colress in mine, and even that draw was
Well, I played games where I didn't even get a Colrus.
And I was like, well, you're relying on it, you crying out for an Iono or something. Yeah. Same. Sorry, Andy. Sorry, Alex. What were you saying? Sorry.
I was saying I built my deck all around getting the Arceus. So I put 4 Arceus in, 4 Nest Balls.
See, to me, that's an Arceus deck. It's not a Charizard deck then.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's Arceus Charizard then. But
it's an Arceus deck with a tinge of Charizard, whereas the one I'm playing 2-2. I'm playing a 2-2 line. 4 line is ridiculous for a Charizard deck. I don't know how you got space for anything else. I know I get that, but
you got to get it set up. Yeah, I can tell you roughly what and it's because you just need to get it set up. Like Andy said, if you break. I play 4 Ultra Ball, and
you can get 2 Arceus on the bench, and you can get nothing then to help you after that. You're still bricking. It's just, I suppose, I think the thing is as well with this current format is every deck can brick. Every single deck can brick. Like I said, I've seen people Manaphy pass on Chempao. I've seen people Manaphy pass on Gardevoir. I'm pretty sure
pass, that's even worse.
I'm pretty sure our first game the other night, Alex, I'm pretty sure I actually played Charizard. I just got a Pidgey out, and then I got nothing else out, and you managed to take the win because you Cramoranted turn your turn 1. So, but that could happen to any deck. That could have been Guardy with Manaphy. Yeah, because that's happened to me. It's happened to me in a challenge.
It did happen to me in a challenge. That's why
exactly.
Yeah. So it does happen, but it's just about minimizing, like playing your outs and putting the cards into just to make sure that you can play the game that you want, like play your deck. Like it's what's the most important thing. Can you play your deck?
Tell you what, actually, when I did win with Charizard, one of the best cards I had was a supporter that I didn't think I'd ever play, and it was Jacques.
It was what? Jack.
Jack T with Jack.
That's why I said it. But yeah, Jack, great. I thought it was great because I was able
Arceus for a Jack.
Well, I had Arceus in hand. Sorry, I had Jack in hand. I jacked. That's a different podcast. And I got Charizard EX, Pidgeot EX. I then I had Rare Candy in hand, and then I was able to quick search for a Rare Candy, and I was able to literally. And then Tom was like, "I can't believe that has been able to. You've been able to get any 2 evolution Pokemon, then quick search for a Rare Candy and just get going." Like it's just he couldn't believe it, and it was like it's good. It is good, and I think that's what I think Pokemon are leaning more towards, and especially one thing we haven't spoken about is rotation. Obviously, I still think we're 6 months away from rotation, so we've still got plenty of time. Maybe even a bit longer. Was it March last time? So it's probably 6 to 7 months we've got until rotation. But I think once rotation comes along, and all of a sudden you've got, I think a lot of these supporters that we basically we're not using at all, like Clavel, things like that, we'll probably see some play, and hopefully they build it around that, and I hope they are building around that. But again, there's also, we did discuss last week as well, we touched upon A-spec cards returning. That's a cool mechanic. Depends how they do it and how they balance it. I mean, look how much Forest Sealstone has I mean, Arceus broke the game, and then Forest Sealstone broke the game. You know, let's see where A-Spec goes. But moving away from Charizard EX, has there been any other decks or any other cards that we really need to take stock and notice for the meta and are going to change the meta?
I did try Tyranitar EX.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad. I just don't think it's good. It's it's because it's a stage 2, so it's, say, Charizard. So I built the deck similar to Charizard because I think, well, I need to get it set up because it hits harder than Charizard turn 2. So it can hit 250. I used Gengar from Lost Origins to get it, and I used Arceus. So you get it going, but then you realize that you evolve the Tyranitar and you can't and just instantly get the energy. So it's not as good as Charizard. And you can still do the whole like attach and then XP share and things like that, and like keep the energy rolling after you get knocked out. And a 2 energy cost is not too bad. It's got a 1 energy cost attack for 120, which is okay for a turn 2 if you're playing against something that's single price deck. You do take a knockout. And to be honest, if you're hitting 180 with a Charizard, it doesn't, whether you're hitting 180 or 120 doesn't matter really. You're not knocking any Vs out really. So, and then you can just hit the next turn with the other attack with an extra energy attachment, which is 150 plus 100 for any bench Pokemon with damage counters. So I think it's worth holding on to the Tyranitars and not just getting rid of them because it's not useful now. I think at some point it might be decent because fighting decks, I think, especially with, say, Ting Lu, it could find a place maybe in a Ting Lu. There's a dark type Tyranitar from Pokemon Go, I want to say, that can be used in the deck that does it's got a double colorless, so it's not even, you don't even need dark energy. It's got a double colorless attack that does 10 for every damage counter on your Pokemon. So actually Tyranitar has got 340 HP. The extra 10 HP is actually pretty. You can't be one shot by a Charizard, a full pelt Charizard 330. Zacian has to get 10 energies, which is not always doable. It's 340 is actually a good number for HP. The Tyranitar then, so if you do get hit by something that does 300, 280, a big hitter, you can just retreat into the other Tyranitar, and then suddenly you're doing 280, 300 yourself with a single prizer. So it does have potential, I think. It's just not ready yet for it. Needs something else. Fighting probably needs some kind of better energy accelerating than Koraidon, which isn't great apart from turn 1.
I mean, it does have gutsy pickaxe, but
still
better than nothing. Andy, is there any cards in Obsidian Flames that you think is going to really impact the meta?
Of the stadiums, there's some stadiums, town hall, maybe the headquarters one.
To be honest, Obsidian Flame's not really been a set I've took much notice of. Nothing's really jumped out at me to say, oh yeah, that's going to be really good to play, or it's just like little one-offs. Like the only standout stuff to me was the Charizard. That's all I wanted to play was the Charizard.
The Pidgeot.
The Pidgeot. Yeah, that was the main 2 cards for that set.
I mean, Andy, Alex did mention, that there's 2 new stadiums. I think both of them have potential to be within the meta. So the first one is Pokemon League headquarters. So the attacks used by each basic Pokemon in play cost 1 star more. Again, I think all of a sudden you play that. Sableye needs 2 energies to attack. Things I
actually played
that.
Against the Lost Box, and he put a water and a psychic on his Sableye, and I wasn't playing the stadium, but I just figured, I guess these Lost Box players, they're probably seeing the stadium being played, and maybe they're trying to, which actually is quite, if they're having to put a water and a psychic on a Sableye, it means that water is not going on a Greninja.
Yeah. Oh no, definitely. Yeah, no. So that's
energy is quite a commodity in Lost Box. So
It's
even
tight,
if,
isn't it? Yeah, it's tight.
yeah, like if they're lost zoning it maybe an energy, they've discarded a couple energy, they can't find a super rod or whatever, they have to put 2 on the Sableye. It messes with their numbers really. So could
Yep.
have
No,
an impact.
agreed. And I think the other one for me is, I think you mentioned it already, is Vengeful Punch. So if the Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, put 4 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon, purely a Guardy counter, to be 100% honest.
Yeah.
And I think we'll start seeing a lot of that. I mean, there's a
Helps
lot
in
of people in that
Charizard though.
label.
The 180 damage plus 40 is 220. You're just basically trading with V's, which is 2 for 2 is, it's not the worst.
It's not the worst. It's not the best. But I mean, I think this set's going to go under the radar. This set is the Charizard set, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's about the Charizard. I know a lot of people are playing it. I think there's a couple of okay Pokemon. I think Sizor we spoke about in the past. Is it Sizor, Caesar? That's
King Gambit looks all right as well. With the
King Gambit looks okay.
Knocks anything out if it's got 4 or more damage.
It needs a lot. It needs a lot of setup and pieces to combat. I've tried it actually. It needs a lot of help from setup. It needs a lot of
Well, you wouldn't just play that on its own. You'd play it with.
No, exactly. So you need to I played a deck from LDF, I think, with Miss Magus, where you can put put damage counters on.
Damage counters on.
Yeah, and you need to evolve it. It's a stage 1, and then you need to attack, and then you need to get knocked out, and then use it. It's kind of a bit clunky. It's not there yet. There needs to be. There's something that maybe with a rapid strat, like a Meowscarada or something that can just pop damage counters on, then you just bring it up.
I have been looking for a grass Pokemon for Lost Box for the Charizard.
Shy, I mean, apparently.
Shaman V.
Yeah.
Shaman V's great. I like Shaman V. I played that deck a long time ago with Rillaboom and Voltage Beat. It's great. It is great. We've obviously, we haven't spoken about Toad Scroll. EX,
it's broken on live.
It's broken on live standard, but obviously it's a stage 1. It's got the ability Protective Mycelium, prevent all effects of attacks used by your opponent's Pokemon done to all of your Pokemon that have energy attached. That's basically that you can't. What does that combat against? Effects from attacks. Does that stop Sableye? Does it stop Sableye?
Giratina, Star
Requiem, whatever. Star Requiem,
that's good little bench, and also it's I quite like it for 270 HP. Like I said, stage 1, but it also does for 2 grass energy. Colony Rush 80 plus 40 more damage to each of your bench Pokemon that has grass energy attached. So if you kind of do an Arceus and you spread that energy around, it can hit hard. It can hit hard for the Charizard, and you can also, it's a decent attacker. I think maybe linked with I tried the Meowscarada deck. Fortunately, it wasn't meant to be, but it's still, I think it's still pretty cool. And there's also another grass Decidueye EX. With the abilities Total Freedom. Once during your turn you may use this ability. If this Pokemon is on the bench, switch it with your active Pokemon, or if this Pokemon is in the active spot, switch it. So again, it's a nice little, I'll say gust. You can go gust and pivot. It's not gust, it's pivot. And then a Hunting Arrow for 1 grass and 1 colorless, 130. This attack also does 30 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So it's just short though. It's not hitting those numbers, is it really? 130 even with weakness, it's only hitting 260 and it does 30 damage. But there's a couple of options, but I think definitely what you agree, I agree with you. I think this set is more for collectors. There's a couple of one-off cards, here and there. I think the Entei's okay, the Victini EX is okay. But it does seem like it's more of a for collectors in terms of it's definitely the Charizard set, unfortunately.
Would you say it's the weakest set so far?
Yeah.
So far, and what in Scarlet and Violet? Considering
considering
Paldea Evolved had Iono Reversal Energy, Jet Energy, amongst its Chempao,
And then all we look at for Obsidian is we've got Pidgeot EX, which is again good. I do like Pidgeot EX. We've got the Charizard EX, and then you know, like I said, maybe a vengeful punch, you know, maybe letter of
Yeah.
encouragement. Nothing massive really. So yeah, I think it's
I
obviously
think-
there's a lot of the starter decks from Japan were put into this one, isn't it? To me it's a bridging
Filler.
set. I think filler set, and I think also the fact that we only have to wait a month for 151 that helps.
Soon still,
Yeah, that is literally a month today from recording, 22nd of September. So that'll be out before we know it. And you know, I think that's because, you know, but you got to remember that Japan got 151 in June, and then they also got Obsidian Flame pretty much the same time. They got Ruler of the Black Flame the same time we got Obsidian Flame. So they've had.
Do you know
those
how
two
their
sets
meta
together.
has been shaken up at all by 151? I don't think you don't really see much or hear much. I haven't heard much.
No,
151 has really made much of an impact to them.
I spoke to some of the guys at the locals yesterday who came back from Japan. They just said Mew EX is everywhere.
Right.
Over in Japan. But again, it remains to be seen. But I think 151 does more. But again, I think combined the two sets, it's still weak. It's still weak for the meta. Hopefully the Paradox Pokemon that are coming in Paradox Rift, hopefully they actually do shake up the meta. We need, again, I still think we need some more special energy cards, and I think there's still some more disruption to come from trainers and supporters.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, we've obviously talked about the meta, so what I thought we'd do then is we'll just kind of round off the news and then wrap it up for this week. So obviously we spoke a lot about Worlds last week with Matt, obviously mainly his experiences and what happened out there, etc. But we haven't really spoken about some of the new products coming out, some of the new cards that are announced there, and our general thoughts of Worlds in general. So I think the first thing to note is they finally changed the World's promo. So the World's promo are changed from Champions Festival, which caused a lot of controversy. I think we spoke about it. I think Joe from Omnipoke spoke about it quite a lot, and it's a card I went out and bought for my Guardi deck. So it's Pokemon have seen that. It's no, not anymore, no. But it's a nice, pretty card, so it's actually over there. But Pokemon finally combated that. So now the new promo that was given to all competitors at World's Championship was called Paradise Resort. And realistically, it's a nothing card, is it, in terms of the actual ability is the retreat cost of each Psyduck in play, both yours and your opponent's, is 1 star less. So unless they make an absolute beast of a Psyduck, I think we're okay. But
maybe they will.
Yeah, well, exactly. You know, they might do. They've got, you know, that's the thing about 151. When you look back and also looking at the different sets in the past, I watched an opening of some Heart Gold, Soul Silver. You've got so many Pokemon they can go and do something for. You know, Gengar EX. I'd love a Gengar EX. You know, exactly. You know, Gengar EX. You've got so many. You know, there's so many Pokemon they can do it for. But obviously they're going to focus primarily on the Pokemon realistically coming in the DLC. So we're obviously going to be doing the Paradox Pokemon. I think some of the Paradox Pokemon will get some EX cards, and then you've probably got the new ones. You've got those new, I can't remember what they're called. The Serendipity or something like that. I think it's those new 3 legendary Pokemon. They'll probably get EX cards realistically.
Raikou and etc.
Yeah, you've got Walking Wake, you've got Iron Leaves, you've got the new Raikou, the new Virizion. Was it Virizion? It's a Cobalion, sorry. Yeah. Virizion's Iron Leaves, Cobalion. So you've got, and I think they'll do them. You know, they'll eventually do them. But a nice little segue, actually. Talking of new Pokemon for the DLC, it was actually announced today that a new Pokemon named Poltergeist. Is it Poltergeist? Poltergeist.
It's based on Matcha.
Yeah. Poltergeist was revealed. So it's a grass and ghost Pokemon. And it has an ability called Hospitality, where it heals a small amount of its allies' HP when entering battle. I assume it's going to be a regional form of Poltergeist. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. Yeah, more variants, but I feel that they're running out of ideas now, Pokemon. I feel they're running a little bit out of ideas, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. There's been a couple of more products actually that have been announced as well. So 2 new premium collections. So the first one's a Charizard EX premium collection. So that's releasing in America in October the 20th, and I think similar time in the UK and Europe. I have pre-ordered this one. So basically, it's a new collection. It's a new artwork of Charizard EX. You get a full art alternate version of Charizard EX. So there you go, Al. You can get guarantee, and you can guarantee a Charizard EX there. So yeah, it comes also with 2 foil cards featuring Charmander, Charmeleon, 6 Pokemon packs, magnetic card protector with display base. 65 card sleeves featuring Charizard as the Terra Pokemon, and then obviously a code for live. This is the first time that we're getting over in the West the magnetic card protector. It's quite common over in Japan.
I think we will get
like
more
it.
of them going forward.
Yeah, I quite like it. I quite like it. So are you guys gonna get this? I mean, the price point just for our listeners was, I think, $39.99 in terms of American dollars, and I think it would be like €40 and £40. Yeah, I mean, Andy straight away already ordered it. Yeah. Alex, you?
I will order it. Yeah, I've not ordered it yet, but I will do.
Make sure you use the early bird code.
I'm gonna order it from I've got the Italian site that can get it. I think it was quite cheap on there. I think it was like €37 or something. Not too bad.
Yeah. I think I got it for about £37. Yeah, the same. Yeah. So yeah. But then leading on to that, there's also and again, we're not sure if this is in America only, because it was actually revealed at a GameStop store leader conference. But basically, it's a Gyarados EX premium collection, so it's basically the exact same as the Charizard. But it's featuring a full art Gyarados EX. So again, it looks very very similar to the one that was in Scarlet and Violet base, I think. Yeah. Reverse hollow magic card, magnetic card protector with display base and sleeves, and then booster packs and the card. Yeah. So yeah, Is it
just a reprint of the base set card?
I think it'll be a slight variation. It looks similar in the box, but I actually physically I don't particularly have that.
The card text will be the same, won't it?
Oh, the card text will be the same. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I probably won't bother with that.
No, unfortunately not. No, I think Gyarados EX is just a bit too out of reach for the water decks. It's just too much. It's energy. The energy requirement is just far too high, in my opinion. But hey ho. But something that I wanted to discuss as well, probably the last thing we discuss before we obviously wrap up, is something that we've mentioned it numerous times on the podcast now, and it's not to do with the TCG, but it's to do with the game and the company in general. So obviously last week or the week before, there was a Pokemon Presents where they showed more information on the DLC. They've confirmed the date for the DLC, which is, I believe, September, for Scarlet and Violet. And then they announced, there's new, Mew, you can get a Mew, you get your own Mew, etc. There's a Mewtwo raid. So we all jumped on actually over the weekend, didn't we, to do some more raids. And the thing that hit me was I forgot how bad that game runs. I think that hit me really hard, especially after playing. I've been playing a lot of Remnant 2, which is 60 frames per second, and even that sometimes struggles with that, but it's beautiful. Whereas Wombat's Pokemon really, really struggled. Obviously, this has been a point of contention for the company for many, many years. Like I said, we spoke about it, and it's that cyclical cycle almost, that cyclical development time whereby you're thinking, come on, take your time. I mean, look what Nintendo released with Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Pokemon, if it had that same development time, would it be a better game? Would it have different ideas? Would the Pokemon designs be better? Because I can imagine they're all under crunch. massively.
Could you wait 6 years for a new Pokemon game though?
Yeah,
I'd rather have that than some of the crap that came out.
But then that does affect the TCG as well.
It does, yeah. That's the thing. Again, maybe slow down on sets.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm buying sets but then it has to be an evolving and developing game state. So you can't keep it. Otherwise, I mean, how did it feel? How did we all feel for Silver Tempest? Silver Tempest was November. I know we got Crown Zenith, but not many new cards in Crown Zenith. Sky Steelstone, there was just like a drab of cards. There was a few, but it was a lot of reprints. But we went from November to March with Silver Tempest meta. How did it feel? Rough. We were ready for Scarlet and Violet. So I guess, in that sense, it's got to be. But then also, I would take a delay in Scarlet and Violet over having Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And I know that was outsourced, but I'm sure that Game Freak still had to put someone there and they had to do some work on that. Surely that maybe is outsourced. I'm not 100% sure, but the thing I'm leading towards is that the Pokemon's company COO Takato Utsunomiya acknowledged that the company is considering a change to its release cadence for the long-running series. He stated, "If you look at the past, the path we've taken up until now has been this constant release, always regularly releasing products at a fairly fixed kind of a cadence. Always having these products able to be introduced and new experiences for our customers, and that's how we've operated up until now." So then they goes on to then say that as a development environments change, it may be time for the series to slow down and take its time with future installments. There's more and more conversations about how we can continue to do this while making sure that we are ensuring really quality products are being introduced. I'm up for it.
Yeah,
I'm up for it. I know what you're saying, Andy. Completely agree to a certain extent, but it's rough. It's rough. When you look at when you look at some of the games we're playing now, and then you see Pokemon, it almost feels like a step backwards, but it sells because it's Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's been rumors that people have had the new dev kits for the new Switch, haven't they? So
yeah. I did watch a YouTube video though. I think I sent it to the group recently, whereby someone went on to. It's almost like Indeed for the Japanese workplace. Basically, Indeed is where you can go on and you can review your employer. And he read the reviews of Game Freak employees. Firstly, I think the shocking thing was, I think there's only like 160 people at Game Freak.
Developers.
Yeah. Well, in general, in the whole company,
160
people. There's only 106 people. Apparently, the software, all the tools that they use are quite outdated. Also, they said there's a lot of people that have been there for a long time who haven't kept up to date with current trends in the market and kept up to date with their job skills. And those people are still there, and they're very limited in their job role. And apparently someone I think was saying that I think the company itself is about 4 years behind the market. The industry, not to say market, the industry.
Yeah.
Bit worrying, bit worrying. But the thing is though, and I think it is acknowledged in that video, is that Pokemon will release and it will sell. Scarlet and Violet, what was, I think like 24 million copies sold?
So far.
Something like that. Let's have a look. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet sales. I'm sure it was
in the first weekend or something.
So here you go. 3rd of August 2023. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Over 22.66 million units sold.
Wow.
It's actually it's nearly sold as many units as Gold and Silver in the 2nd gen.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is, and they're going to constantly. I mean, it's bad. It's not great when you look at it, and what it could be. And I think that's the big kicker. I think obviously we're not just TCG players; we're also avid gamers. So we've been playing Final Fantasy 16 recently, Tears of the Kingdom, Remnant 2. We've been obviously God of War. You look at these games and you think, wow, how immersive it can be, and Pokemon's just so far behind.
Mm-hmm.
it is massively far behind. It's just it's a shame, really.
Like Final Fantasy, it's
when you compare it to Final Fantasy. I think there's even Pokemon clones that are doing better. I can't remember there's one on the Switch. If I
seen a video for it the other day.
It's called this isn't the best.
The one with guns, Pokemon with guns.
No. I know which one.
Tom or something.
No, it's not that one.
What's it called?
Did you see the one where they mix up the starters as well?
No.
They like mix up the starters with like other Pokemon.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
so you have a Tyranitar mixed with like a Litten or something like that.
Oh yes, I have seen that. Yep, sorry. It's Temtem. Sorry, it's called Temtem.
Temtem. Yeah, Temtem. Yeah, that was.
And that was in early access, and that was just purely because it was fans of Pokemon who were like, we can do it better, and it sold. I think it sold over 500,000 copies whilst it was still in early access.
Mm-hmm.
It's the demand's there, the hunger's there. It's just and Pokemon just keep releasing it, and just hopefully they see hopefully the fact that obviously they are addressing it is a big thing, because I think they've patched it, haven't they? Patched it quite a few times. I mean, I never had some of the bugs that people complained about, glitching through areas and this and that. I never really had massive bugs.
The crazy limbs moving all over the place there.
We did have that on the first day, but we found that quite amusing, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it's just more of the fact it was rough. It was really rough, and it was. I remember when we first went into Terror Raids, it was rough as well, isn't it? So
it still kind of is. Like I'll do something, and it seems like it's like 5 minutes behind you, or
yeah.
Right. Well, apart from moaning about Scarlet and Violet, I think that wraps it up. Unless have you guys got anything else you want to touch on this week?
Didn't we have an RTFC switch cart?
Yeah, I would say. So I keep forgetting about RTFC. So RTFC this week. Alex is going to provide this RTFC from a tabletop game that we played.
So this is so basically I was playing Lost Tina, and I actually haven't played a Lost Box game since pre-rotation. So I don't know. Well, actually they've been using switch cart in Lost Box actually pre-rotation, but I never used it anyway. And then I put it in my had 3 switches and a switch cart, and I put it in my my deck, and I had Giratina V-Star. I was like, I've got the win now, because I can just switch cart my Giratina V-Star into my Saberline and just take out the last knockout. And he was like, you can't with the switch cart. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, well, it doesn't.
It's for basics.
It's a basic, yeah. And I was like, oh. And I read it, and I was like, switch your active basic with one of your bench Pokemon. If you do, they'll heal 30 damage from Pokemon. But I, for some reason, I was under the impression that you only healed if it was a basic. Yeah, but obviously not.
No, definitely not.
So that was my fun, yeah. And
so I won that game.
So Jay won that game, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the RTFC this week. Make sure, again, guys, always read the flipping card.
Always read the card.
Right, okay, well, I think that wraps it up this week. So I want to thank everyone for joining. I want to obviously thank Andy and Alex for joining for another episode this week.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. It's good to be back. I want to thank all you guys out there listening and watching. We really appreciate it. To keep in touch with us, it's our best places at our Twitter account and all our socials. So our Twitter account is @TrainingCourt. Our Instagram account is @TrainingCourtTCG. To watch us or to listen to us, the best place really every week when we release on a Friday is our YouTube. So www.youtube.com/TrainingCourtTCG or @TrainingCourtTCG. If you can only listen to us, we're on Podbean, which is thetrainingcourt.podbean.com, or alternatively, you can catch us on Spotify or Apple iTunes Podcast, where you just type in Training Court TCG and you'll find us there. If you guys can give us a like and subscribe and comment, and always just give feedback. We've been getting some great feedback recently and some interactions, and we love absolutely helping on just talking to you guys in the community. So please like, subscribe and comment, the usual YouTuber trope, but we really appreciate it. Well, thank everyone again, and we will catch you all next week. Take care.
Thanks a lot. See you.
Bye bye.